Welcome, everyone. I'm your host of the Merge Medical Podcast. I'm Dr. Jeff Brown with your co-host, Dr. Jeff Cole. I'm very excited about the two guests we've got with us today. This is Ujay Jetar and Joe Motto. They're both members of the executive team of a new and upcoming startup called Tecton. Tecton is a ketone-based energy drink, and with that all up and coming with the everyone's understanding the benefits of ketosis, this is a very timely product to bring to the market. So with that, Ujay, Joe, welcome to the show. I'd like to first direct my attention to Ujay. Tell us about the product that Tecton's bringing to the market.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for having us on the call and on this podcast. Really appreciate it, and we're grateful for the opportunity. The product is the best way to describe Tecton is it takes something that nature designed for your liver to convert fat into energy when your body was in an energy crisis. You hadn't eaten for 2 days, or you were really short of carbs, deprived of carbs, so your liver would start converting fat into ketones. Well, what Tecton is without having to go through a keto diet, which is highly restricted on carbs, you can get many of the benefits of ketones just by drinking one of our cans. You get 10 grams of nature identical ketones. Other than that, this product has no caffeine and no sugar. So it has only 50 calories, but those 50 calories all come from ketones. The rest of the product is, it's sweetened with an extract from monk fruit that has no insulin response. It also has natural flavors and colors. So there's just nothing, there's no negative in the product. We designed it to be as positive as possible.
About the need, how do you compare yourself with other products on the market, other ketone-based products, other energy drinks? Where do you see yourself fitting?
Yeah. So, a lot of products that claim to be energy drinks, I'm sorry to say, they're really not energy drinks. What they do is they are stimulants. So think about it this way. You are usually getting into drinking an energy drink, you're tired and your cells are short of energy. For whatever reason, you're tired, you're overworked. It could be any number of reasons why you didn't sleep enough. You're tired. When you take a stimulant, what it does is it turns up the two neuron receptors in the brain, and one of them, what caffeine does to it is it increases heart rate and blood pressure. So it's not adding new energy to your cells. It is extracting more energy from your body that you already feel you're deprived of. What Tecton does with its ketones is it actually adds nutritive energy to your cells. And it's a more efficient energy source for your cells than sugar, which is the other major ingredient in most of these so-called energy drinks. So the big difference is no stimulant, no caffeine, no sugar, just real efficient metabolic energy for your cells. And that's what ketones provide. We are nature identical. There is no dose limit. Other products, you have to be really careful with how much of caffeine or how much of sugar you drink. There is really no dose limit with Tecton. And when you compare Tecton and our proprietary ketone ester with any of the other ketone esters or keto salt products out in the market, there are two fundamental differences that we have to keep in mind. Keto salts, you have to have a very high level of keto salts before you can get anywhere near to getting the level of ketone levels in your bloodstream as a ketone ester. So ketone esters are way better than keto salts to start with. So now let's compare Tecton with other ketone esters. Almost all of them, if not all of them, are tied. So I'm going to get a little technical here. But since you're all doctors, and mostly doctors are going to be listening to this, I think it's important to understand the science. The ketones that your liver produces are called BHB, or beta hydroxybutyrate. BHB has to be tied to something else for it to become bioavailable. The ketone esters that are in the market today, they're tied to something called 1,3-butanediol. It essentially is a precursor to ethyl alcohol and ethanol. It's no one, and that's, that tastes like jet fuel, and it's very expensive. There are dose limits. I don't believe you can drink more than 2 of those a day, and you can only give those to adults. Our ketone ester, our BHB, is tied to a glycerol molecule, which allows our product to be extremely safe. Our toxicity studies were done at 200 times the body weight daily dosage. That's an FDA guideline that we had to follow. And 200 times means an average adult male can drink 120 of these cans a day. So safety, palatability, and also cost, because our product is therefore, because of our different process, is a little bit significantly more affordable than some of the others out there. So that's kind of the difference in terms of competition. And I think, Jeff, you kind of asked about what's the need out there, and you also talked about competitors at the same breath. So I do want to kind of address the question on need as well, unless you want to go deeper into the competition here.
Let's go to, we're going to come back and do a deep dive. So let's go ahead and talk about the executive team, because that's something that I think anybody viewing could and should be excited about. How this got put together, who's actually running the show right now. And then I want to come back and explain a little bit more about why anyone would take the product on a deep dive.
Gotcha. So the Tecton is co-founded by Mike Chesney, who is a special ops combat medic, Delta Force. He is, a serious soldier, obviously. He's also a recipient of 2 Purple Hearts. He worked with DARPA way back when he was still in the military, and after he left the military, he did a lot of work in medical consulting. So he's got a health and medical background. I co-founded the brand with him. My background is in running global JVs between Coke and Nestle, so ran a global business of kind of a health and well-being drink within the Coca-Cola portfolio, if you will. And because of my 10 years at Coca-Cola running global businesses, I have an amazing network of great people like Joe Motto. So we brought on Joe, Smita Patel, who's our head of R&D. She is one of the first formulators of the Snapple iced tea business when there were 4 people in a room. Joe Motto has run global financial systems and supply chains. He's worked at the bottler side as well as on the Coca-Cola company side, so really kind of gets a picture from both operations and from manufacturing and finance. Victor Dominic is our head of operations, and he's run global supply chain for McDonald's, for Coca-Cola, and the entire orange juice business. So we have a very seasoned team that has deep and extensive experience in creating and launching and scaling global brands in the beverage category.
Sounds like Jeff, we have about, I think it's over 100 years of experience when you total it all up in the beverage industry. And then Smita Patel, like UJ mentioned, was employee number 4 at Snapple. So she was responsible for all of the flavors that they started off with, and done an amazing job with when she joined Coca-Cola around with the vitamin water flavors.
So it looks like the dream team when you look at the executive team in terms of experience and what's been done with them before, if you're going to bring a new beverage to market.
Yeah, strong. Not 2 college kids in a garage, right?
You're right.
We sometimes act like that, but we have enough experience to temper some of our passion, if you will.
Well, how about technology? And you touched on it, but and patents. Are you allowed to speak toward that at all in this?
Yes. So having run innovation at global R&D for Coca-Cola, one thing I did learn is that patents do provide a significant amount of protection, but sometimes you have to protect around the patents. But some of the greatest intellectual property that you can have is what you don't talk about at all. It's what comes from a lot of trial and error and mistakes and investment and time. And we've spent 7.5 years building this technology. So we have a great suite of patents, and we have an incredible amount of intellectual property around it. And a lot of it is centered around how you make the ketone and how you flavor the product. And, as Joe mentioned, Smita was, one of the first 4 employees, employee number 4 at Snapple, but she was also hired by Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola spent $4.1 billion to buy vitamin water. They still had to reformulate everything to fit the global supply chain. And she was the one who did all the reformulation. So how do you get a product that has no sugar in it to taste really, really good? So we have some substantial intellectual property around how we formulate. And so our entire suite of intellectual property is pretty robust across the board. We have a pipeline of innovation coming out beyond the beverage that you guys have tasted in different product formats, in green nano encapsulation to increase bioavailability, in improving flavor profiles. So, I don't want to talk much more about that than that, but, rest assured, we really do have a lot of intellectual property baked in here.
So you touched on it already with the taste of the competitor, and I've tasted both. Obviously, the closest competitor to us does taste a lot like diesel fuel, and it's that bare ketone that we're tasting, as opposed to the technology in the Tecton. Am I saying that right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think there are 2 components to it. One is our ability to do product formulation, which is, has the benefit of years of Coca-Cola and beverage industry expertise, which they don't have. But there's a difference in the raw molecule itself because they use 1,3-butane diol. It's harder to mask that flavor to start with, no matter what you do, and because of that, the raw material is extremely difficult to mask, and it tastes like diesel fuel, as you said. Now, the product, I don't want to diss my competitors on a public podcast, but I don't want to say they are pioneers. They've done an incredible job. I believe we stand on the shoulders of giants, but they had the misfortune of having decided to connect their BHB molecule to butane diol, which, it is what it is.
Gotcha.
It's difficult to swallow.
So maybe we're getting into a lot of detail, but it sounds like we've got a slightly different molecule with the Tecton, but we've also got some flavor masking profiles, and it's non-salt based. That's accurate, correct?
Correct. We do not, we use a real ketone ester, and it's not a keto salt.
So you don't have to tell people, hey, this is good for you. Just think of it like medicine, right? You can think of it as something you enjoy.
Yes. The unfortunate thing for some of the competitors is that they have to lead with the fact that, hey, listen, I know it's going to taste bad. It doesn't taste as good as you would want it to taste. But, in our case, this is not a soft drink. It is a functional health drink. But, it does not have that massive disadvantage.
Well, I think that takes us to your target markets. Who's the client? Who does this help? I've heard some talk about diabetes and brain health. Can you run through some of those benefits?
Yeah. So what I want to be careful about here is that, I want to talk about the benefits of exogenous ketones that have been, widely researched. And there are some benefits of the keto diet, which is different because the keto diet means you completely eliminated carbs from your body. When you do that, the keto diet can be extremely helpful, but it is quite hard to follow because it literally, one banana, a medium-sized banana that's ripe, can throw you out of ketosis. You have to starve for 2 days before you can get into ketosis, or you have to be on a keto diet for 2 to 3 weeks, perhaps sometimes, to get to levels of ketone levels that are beneficial. Exogenous ketones per se have been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier. And because of that, they have several benefits for the brain, from mental acuity, focus, potentially neuroprotective benefits as well. Underlying problems with brain health are connected sometimes to a problem with the metabolism of sugar. So when you have a concussion, for example, neurologists and neurosurgeons will tell you, don't drink any more sugar or don't consume any more sugar at that time. And that's where exogenous ketone is very valuable, because it will be used preferentially by your brain to help to recover, to potentially neuroprotect, and to improve brain function, whereas added sugar and glucose could actually do more harm at that point. So there's a brain health benefit to anyone that has brain fog, which is almost all of us sometime at some point of day or the other, or for different reasons. Ketones were nature's way to help you survive when you were starving. And that's historically when we were hunter-gatherers. So your stomach would start producing something called ghrelin, which is a hormone that makes you feel hungry. So it warns you, let's go out and eat something, and let's go find food. Well, now my food is right in my pantry, which is 2 seconds away. So that's not that useful anymore. But what ketones do is they turn off ghrelin, so they cut off hunger pangs. So therefore, it becomes really useful as a hunger suppression tool. So what I would recommend is drink Tecton half an hour before a meal and see how you feel. You'll most likely not feel so hungry, and you will eat less, which is a really great tool in your toolkit to help reduce weight and to maintain a diet. So those are 2 benefits. There are other benefits for example, type 2 diabetics. There's not a lot you can do to get energy when you're a type 2 diabetic. You can't have sugar. Obviously, we know about blood glucose, but even caffeine can affect insulin levels. And so for someone who's got type 2 diabetes, there's articles in Mayo Clinic's website about this, is they recommend don't drink caffeine. Well, then that cuts off the only 2 things I know of that most people have when you're feeling a bit tired. Well, exogenous ketones will be a great substitute for caffeine and sugar for people like that. So there are multiple benefits. Sports and nutrition, there's other benefits for that too. Remember, ketones were again designed for when you need them most. And so they help with muscle recovery. Ketones, when they're metabolized by your body, they don't create a byproduct called lactic acid. So that can help with reducing pain and recovery after a workout or after a long run. And it also helps with endurance. There are multiple consumer targets for this that are pretty important. There are different need states where the product can really help. What we are trying at this moment is to provide the product through ambassadors that do fitness coaching, diet coaching, and let them decide what their patients or their clients more appropriately, what they need and when they need it and how they should use it. And that's kind of how we're starting to grow the market now.
One thing I could add UJ, that was great summation. Something that's recently kind of trending is intermittent fasting. So we think the product is a great way to, as you start a fast, if you're 8 to 12 hours in, drink a Tecton. And as UJ said, that appetite suppressant is really there. It will carry you on for another 4 hours. I definitely have tested this myself. And I don't get as hangry as I used to. My wife's calling it a marriage saver. I don't know what that means exactly, but it definitely helps you when you're talking about trying to suppress your appetite or extend a fast.
And let's talk about that a little bit more, Jokes. If I'm understanding correctly, and I want the audience to understand, if I drink this product, I'm consuming ketones, but if my purpose is to make myself be in ketosis, if I'm understanding correctly, I can be doing a fast and I'm hungry because I'm fasting, but I can take the ketone and that will not interfere with the metabolic process that's taking place. In fact, it would be synergistic since I'm adding ketones into my system. Is that right?
Yes, I think, like as UJ mentioned, a banana kicks you out. This would not kick you out of getting into ketosis.
Excellent. And then UJ, you talked a little bit about diabetes, insulin, and so forth. If someone takes this product, how does that affect their insulin levels?
So it essentially helps to normalize blood glucose levels. And, I'm not qualified to go into much more depth around insulin and insulin response. So all I know is that it does not create an insulin response. So unlike sugar for everyone and caffeine for type 2 diabetics, caffeine is not that bad for people that don't have diabetes. But if you already have it, according to Mayo Clinic, that's a problem with insulin response.
So if I'm understanding correctly, we're taught in medical school, and Dr. Cole can back me up here. There's two states, a fed and a fasting state. And when you're in a fed state, you secrete insulin to store excess energy. So if you're in a fasting state, the opposite's occurring. You're breaking down glycogen, et cetera. If this product just provides ketones, it doesn't cause an insulin spike. You shouldn't store any fat with the product.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So the beauty of the product is it does have 50 calories, but they come entirely from ketones. And these ketones will not get stored as fat. They will get used as energy.
And this is for how long with one can?
So one can will, so the peak ketone levels are kind of hit around the 30-minute mark, and they kind of drop out of ketosis around 75 to 80 minutes, according to our PK study, our pharmacokinetic study. And there will be some residual ketones that will last in your body for a longer period, but it will be below the ketosis level, which is theoretically, scientifically said to be at 0.5 millimoles.
You mentioned ambassadors. Is that what else can you expound on just your sales channels and how you're coming to market? I think you just finished some test marketing in the Atlanta market. Is that true?
Right. So one of the things about our learnings, and this is the why we joked a little bit about not being two kids in a college dorm. If you're two kids in a college dorm and you have an incredible breakthrough, potentially once in a generation technology, one can get very excited and try to make as much of the product, raise as much money as possible, and just push it out there everywhere and get distribution. But what we've learned through hard knocks is that it takes time to build a new technology and get awareness and education out there. So what we did was we tested it in really small scale, tiny scale, I would say, in the Atlanta area in a few places, different kinds of stores, different kinds of channels, different consumer targets, different benefits. And what we learned was some of the most potent areas where there was a quicker adoption of a completely new technology like exogenous ketones was weight loss clinics. So we have a great customer, and I'm going to call out one of them, Hydro Plus, that has been buying anywhere up to 10 cases, 15 cases a month of a product and bundling it in their weight loss program. So that's been really exciting for us. We have also had great traction with former athletes, some current college athletes, some college students as well. And our thing that I'm really most excited about is we've got incredible traction with people who have made a living out of helping other people get fit, either lose weight or perform better physically. And so our ambassador program is designed for these folks to be able to promote the brand authentically. We do not pay them anything unless they have actually made a sale or help to promote the product where consumers have bought into their idea and have come to us to buy a product. We've built a very generous program for them where they get 10%. So for example, Steve Uriah, who I'll call out, is one of our fitness experts and a brand ambassador. When he puts out a post on Instagram, there's a QR code that consumers can scan. They come onto our site, they get a discount because they're Steve's followers. And anything that they buy for the next 12 months, Steve will get 10% of that revenue. So it's not an affiliate that, you just get 1 or 2% of the first, product sale. They get 10% of any revenue generated by that follower. And the reason why we've been so generous with this is we believe that we want our ambassadors whose purpose aligns with us to also be successful. So it's a real win-win for both of us to build a really long-term relationship.
Wow. I really like how you said that. I don't know if that was purposeful or not, but you said that the ambassadors you've chosen are people who have made a career out of a lifetime of helping others. And I can't think of something more genuine than that.
Absolutely. We are extremely picky about who we partner with. We don't care if you've got 1 million followers, but if that's not who you are, if you're not there to serve other people, you're not going to be a great ambassador for Tecton, because
100%.
we don't want to make any fake claims. We don't want to, push people into doing something they don't need.
100%.
Well, I think as Jeff and I represent Merge Medical and represent physicians, that we intend to grow and grow with them on our platform. I think physicians, I mean, at least me, I mean, I get it. I think physicians are going to really get this. We may not have physicians with 1 million followers, but I think you may have some, and it may be through their clinics themselves. I mean, endocrinologists, or I'm not sure who, trying to think through this, but you may have physicians that are really look at this and go, wow, I might like to be involved. A lot of physicians are side gigs, and so maybe something that we can offer to our
we would love to have healthcare practitioners of all levels and all functions, because as Jeff Brown, you said as well, is that this is a product that is born out of a sense of service. I do want to kind of talk a little bit about that. So Mike Chesney, as I said, he's a recipient of 2 Purple Hearts. He himself has had several serious TBIs, and while he was recovering from them, he started to feel a sense of, how do I help my soldiers who've gone through similar problems. So when he did find out about this product, that was kind of his initial emphasis, was let's build a product that can help active military and veterans that have been disabled by TBI to get back on their feet. And the reason why I resonated with the story is my father was a fighter pilot, and he died of PTSD. And so for me, this is as much of a mission as it is a business. The thing that I think, we like to talk about at Tecton is for people that go towards danger. And that includes people like yourselves, first responders, firefighters, staff in ERs. I myself benefited from their sense of service. So we want to give people like that an opportunity to be our ambassadors, but also we have a significant discount that we offer, a special price for people that run towards danger, that protect other people, that serve other people. So I'd love to talk about that as well in this podcast if possible.
That's fantastic. Of course. Yeah. We'll talk about that all you want, and remind the viewers that a large portion of Tecton's veteran owned.
Yeah, I think it's more than 60% veteran or veteran family owned.
You've talked about a lot of different markets and different clients, patients, if you will, that this would be beneficial for. Do you have any idea? And of course, you can't make claims, but what do you think the potential is for the ketone beverage, for Tecton as a whole?
Yeah, I think, so when you look at weight loss as a market, so just take mission and purpose aside and just talk about pure business opportunity here, right? I think there are 35 million people with type 2 diabetes, and there's 90 million people that have pre-diabetes. Obesity is a crisis that is, probably over $50 billion. Brain health is an emerging crisis, with more and more baby boomers getting into that age where you need an improvement in quality of life to get a little bit of, an hour or half an hour or 2 hours of added mental clarity and focus. The market is really huge across all of this. And we are not, constraining our product innovation to just one beverage or one product. We have dietary supplements. We will be doing gummies. We will have powders that can then be mixed with your, smoothies or other ways to kind of do meal replacements. So we have a large portfolio of innovation that's going to, follow our product, and it's all designed towards helping people live what we like to call the Tecton life, which is a life where you take common sense care of yourself, suppress appetite, get better mental focus so you can do what you need to do and do it well, improve your performance if you're an athlete. And so we want to create a portfolio of products that kind of satisfies those needs. And as we build consumer relationships through our ambassadors, we hope to be able to provide a full suite of offerings through these channels.
So Jeff, wanted to quantify some of this, and these are rough estimates, and UJ hit on some of the bigger markets. Just in the U.S. alone, those the markets that we can play in are about $175 billion right now. All of the ones that UJ mentioned are growing or expected to double between now and the next 6 or 7 years. So there's a lot of opportunity here when it comes to people that can benefit from the product and where Tecton can play.
Excellent.
That's fantastic. Well, I would love to talk offline about the ambassador program a little bit more. And I think when we put this podcast together, and perhaps we could even put a link out there for our listeners to act on.
Yeah, absolutely. We could have a page for your listeners to come onto our platform, and that way Merge Medical can be an ambassador for Tecton. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Everything that UJ said so far is spot on. The one thing that we do offer for the first 100 ambassadors, 3 years for the 10%.
That's right.
That's something that we think could be very powerful for somebody who has a pretty big following and would have growing sales over that time.
Yeah. When I got into this, I was already into a lot of fitness nutrition stuff, and someone said, we're doing this ketone based drink. And that's what caught my attention, was that this is a ketone based drink, and no one was doing that. And, it tasted like crap for years until Smita got involved. We didn't talk a whole lot about that, but between the encapsulation process and Smita, man, right?
Yeah, a huge deal. And then it's also, we moved in that period of time, Jeff, we moved from a chemical process to an enzymatic process. So that helped improve the purity and the cleanliness of the molecule as well. So it's what people tend to think is there's a silver bullet to creating a new product, but it's usually a combination of process, product formulation, and the ingredients. So our ingredient improved a bit because we went into this, glycerol-based enzymatic process.
Yeah.
Our flavoring improved because of Smita, and then we also did some, innovation around the product production process, because that itself also kind of helps. And different processes can lead to different flavor and ingredient requirements. So anyway, there's a lot of intellectual property at various levels. So that's why it's not one thing. It's a combination that makes us pretty strong.
So UJ or Joe, I think this is a good opportunity. We've covered a lot. This is your opportunity. Is there anything that we haven't asked or you haven't had the opportunity to speak about that you'd like the audience to hear?
Yeah, great. I don't have much to add except to say that, I spent a lot of time selling sugared beverages at Coca-Cola, and, I quit when I was 39 because I wanted to do something a little bit more purposeful and meaningful with my life. And because of my background in creating new products and innovations like Coca-Cola Freestyle, etc., I got a lot of companies come to me and say, hey, would you join our advisory board, or would you invest in our beverage company? And I stayed, I stayed away from all of that till I met Mike. I truly believe in my heart, deepest in my heart, that we have a product that is genuinely good for you. It is one of the few things that replicates some of the best things that your body does for you, which is gives you pure energy for your cells. Some of the most effective and efficient sources of energy are ketones. And we've added that into a product that is easy to consume, and we've combined it with the simplest, cleanest ingredients possible to make it as much of a no-brainer to consume as we can possibly get. So it's something that I can say with my hand on my heart, this is good for you.
That's fantastic.
So good that I think perhaps that's where we wrap it up. I think
that's right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, guys, thank you for joining the Merge Medical podcast. You can learn more about this product and the innovators bringing it to the market at tectonlife.com. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Brown, with your co-host, Dr. Jeff Cole. Thanks for joining us.